All right, people. So let's start our learning from this Python basic. So what am I going to do is I'm going to call this as maybe I can call this as uh, extended learning, extended learning, uh, Python underscore learning. Right, and I will call this as part 1. Okay, this is going to be my file name, right? And what we are going to do in this video is we are going to understand the basics, right? And I know that lots of basic operations we have already done, right? You might have noticed that we have done the power of the variable and all those stuff. So I wanted to, like, just pick up this as a point, right? So first thing first, your Python can work as a calculator, right? This is, you need to remember this, right? So your Python can work as a calculator. Okay, so I'll say works as a calculator, and you need to remember this. Okay, and then we'll be like learning all these things step by step. So it can work as a calculator. I'm completing this as a markdown, right? So this is going to be my first value, right? Execute this, and we know how do we do this, right? Probably you can add certain values to certain values and it will give you the output. You can add certain values. So I'm not just gonna write all these codes over here, but I'll just give you all those codes, right, which you can use. For example, if I can simply say I have some numbers, if I want to add two numbers over here, right, and if I can execute that, it will give me addition of that value. Or if I have some multiplication codes which can be done over here, or if I have some codes which are for the division, like so 52,651 divided by 7,65,213, if I just do that, you can see that it gives me the output. And even if I wanted to subtract something from something, so if I do this, it will give me the output, right? So this is the one way of calculating, one way of using the Python as a calculator. The second is, right, second way of using Python is that I can assign the variables over here, right? So I've just already talked about many things over here, so I'm just saying assigning a variable over here, right? And what is that variable name? So I'll just mark this as a second part, as a markdown, and I have some values, right, which I have given you as a code, right? So suppose this is the value for x and this is the value for y. You can see that I'm able to execute these values, and if I want to do some operations on that, x multiplied by y, it can work that way as well. So you can see that it's a good rate. I mean, it's very quick and it's very, very fast, right? So this is something I'm sure that you're able to understand this much very, very easily. Now what am I going to do, right? I want to give you some understanding over here. For example, if I simply say that suppose I wanted to write one statement over here, and then I'll tell you what I mean by that. So I'll just write some news. In Python, no news is a good news. Now I'm writing this because because I want you to remember these phrases, right? Good news. Now what does it mean, right? What does it mean? Right, for example, if I say z is equals to x multiplied by y, whatever multiplied by, so this is x multiplied by y, so my z should have this value, right? So once you do this, right, Python will keep this to itself, right? Python will keep the multiplication, it will multiply the variables and keep it to itself, right? It will not execute it further, or it will not display this further, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to execute this command, and you'll see that there is no return. I mean, there is no output which you've got, right? So Python has calculated this calculation, whatever calculation you have given, and Python has, after calculating it, just keep it to itself, right? It will not throw out certain certain output for you. Now whenever you ask for it, right, for example, you'll say what is z over here, then it will print out that number. So Python can accept your input without notifying you. So if it is not giving you any response, this means that your code and everything is correct, right? So don't need to worry about that. Okay, now what are the other things we know, right? So I'll just write it over here. What we can assign as a variable name, right? Variable name. So what we can assign over here as a variable name, right? I can say I underscore m underscore n underscore Indian, right? And I can just assign some values. For example, suppose say 2387324, and execute this, and my Python is happily accepting this, right, without any problem. So what I want to do over here is that I can just simply, right, pick up this as a variable name, and I can just type in over here. For example, I can say what is this I underscore m, and I hit tab over here, and it will try to auto complete the task by its own. Execute this, and you will see that this variable has been taken. Now I have written down one variable over here which says Sudhanshu Saxena is a data scientist, and you can see that there is no, I mean, this is a complete statement without any spaces, right? And I execute this, and Python will be happy accepting it, right? It will not be giving me any kind of error or something, right? And if I just simply say sud and hit tab over here, it will auto complete the task itself and says this is the value which has been stored over there, right? So these are the things which you need to worry about, right? Now there is a special note which I'm pasting over here for you. This is acting as a note. I want you to remember this. You shouldn't be using the variable names with dot and some Python reserved keyword. For example, if I am saying Sudhanshu underscore Saxena underscore is underscore n underscore Indian, this is fine, right? And you give some numbers over here, this is completely fine. I mean, your Python will be happily accepting it, right? If I say Sudhanshu Saxena is an Indian, it is completely fine. But if I'll just delete this right now, if I just simply say right, for example, Sudhanshu dot Saxena, right, dot is, this is not fine. This is not fine because dot is being used in Python to see the extended commands, right? For example, if I just show you over here, so if I'll say I underscore m underscore Indian dot, and if I hit tab over here, it will show me the options what I can try out with I am underscore n underscore Indian command, right? It will show me different options. So you should not be using dot in the variable names. I'll just make it you know, a little bit like this, right? So you shouldn't be using the variable names with dot, right? And there are some Python reserved keywords, right? So which all values are Python reserved keywords, right? Which means the certain things which will turn into green, right, when you type them in, right? For example, I'll show you some of the options. Like for example, if you type in just boolean, right, if you just type them something like this, it will convert that into green, right? Which means that it's a Python reserved keyword. So when you're typing in, if it is turning into green, try not to use this as a variable name, right? For example, I can just simply say, suppose till the time I'm here, it's fine. I'm here, it's fine, right? If I say this, it is turning into green. So you shouldn't be using true as a variable name. So this is the thing which you need to you know, take care, right? Now I have some variable names over here, right, which I'm going to show you, right? These are my variable names, and I have like created this several variable names just to show you, right, how we can do several data manipulation on it, right? So here num1 is 10, num2 is -3, num3, and these are all variables name. I mean, there's nothing special about them. It's just that I've created it to save some time for typing, and you can see these are some variable names which I have. Now here you can see that there is a square bracket, right, and it's empty, which means that I have not executed this code. So since I've not executed, right, Python is not aware of what is num1, right? So if I just simply say what is num1, right, Python will give me an error. It says num1 is not defined. Now why num1 is not defined? Because I forgot to run this command which will register these values into the Python's memory. So what am I going to do? I'm going to execute this, and now if I execute this num1, it will be able to show me the value of num1, right? So I hope that makes sense. Now I can use num1 plus num2, right? I'm executing this. You can see this is giving me the option, and I'm doing like several other things. For example, I can say I mean, I can pick up data is equals to num1 multiplied by num2, and it will happily be taking the values, and I can say what is data, just give me the values. So Python has a property that it will execute the first command, and then it will execute the second command, and then you can see that that it works pretty well, right? It shows you some output over here which is which is like minus 30, right? So it works pretty well. I can also call for some numbers like num5. What is num5 over here? It says 7. And I can also check for the boolean operator. So this says the notes which I'm typing it over here. So this symbol is used for boolean. This is like for boolean operator to check the value, right? So it acts as a boolean operator. For example, I know that num5 is 7, right? But I'll say, hey, num5, is it equal to 8, right? Is it equal to 8, right? And if you say that, it will come back and says false, right? If I say, right, hey, is num5 equal to 2 3 2 1, right? It says false, right? However, if I say is num5, right, equal to 7, it will come back and says true, right? So you can see here that Python is very much able to take up all these values and happy to give you all these options, right? Now, for example, if I have some numbers and I wanted to find out right, that how does it work, right? Right, so you can see that it will give me the option whether it is true or not. And if I reverse this whole phenomena, right, it will give me that option as well, right? For example, I am picking up this number over here and say that is it true, it will come back and says true, right? Or I can check for some LHS and RHS value as well. For example, if I have this number 127,342 and this is 753,712, is it equal to, adding these two numbers equal to that, it will come back and says false. These are the values which are not equal at all. So we need to understand where we are going to use equal to. However, now you will be wondering why we are using double equal to, why can't we use single equal to, right? So single equal to is an assignment operator, right? Which means assignment operator means that if you use single equal to, it will assign the values, right? For example, if I'm saying my underscore variable, right, I'll say variable, is it equal to, say, suppose 72187, some number, right? My variable is like that, and I say what is my underscore variable, it will be able to give me that this is the value, right? So always remember, so I'll just write this notation over here in Python, right? I'll just write notes in Python. The code execution happens line by line, okay, line by line. Okay, so this is something which you need to remember. So first this code will be executed, and then only this code will be executed. Okay, so we've got this 72187. So what I did with single equal to symbol, I have reassigned the values right over here. Now what else I can try out? I can just say in Python, like Python is first of all case sensitive, right? So I'll just write it over here. Python is case sensitive, right? Which means that that if you just simply, suppose simply say type of my underscore variable, right, this will not work, right? It says it is not defined, right? So since why it is not defined, because this command is itself wrong, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to create this, right? I'm going to create this type my variable, and it says integer. So here you can see that that this is basically an integer value, right, which I have assigned. So Python is dynamically typed, right? It will just pick up the data by its own, right? And you can see here, if I wanted to give some values, for example, if I say float over here, and if I say my underscore var, it's a variable name, I can say 7637.238 say 757328. I'm just picking up random variables over here, and I say what is my underscore variable name, right? It says this value, and I can say please also print the type of my underscore var, okay? And if I execute this, it will come back and says float value. So did I specify that it's a float value? No, I didn't, but itself Python will be able to identify this by itself, that this is a floating value, right? User wanted to define. So Python is dynamically typed language, right? I can write the same commands over here, right? So I'm going to give you one more instance over here. So I'll just simply say rewrite the same command, right? Same command, and what am I going to do? I'm going to use the same thing right over here. But now, did you notice one thing over here, right? When I asked to print right, my variable, and I say just show me the type of my variable, only type of my variable, which is float, is being printed, not my variable. And the reason is that since Python executes step by step, the value of my underscore variable is being printed, and it happens so fast that I couldn't see it. So what am I going to do over here is that I'm going to just pick up the same thing, but I just simply say print. I want Python to print my variable, and I also want my Python to print the type of variable. And now both the values, since I'm deliberately asking Python to print both the values, it will print out both the values over here. So you can see that we have got this this floating value which is being used over here, right? So I hope it makes sense to everyone, right, what I'm talking about. And just sorry for my typos, and I just correct it right now. So you can see that I have picked up these values and printed the both values. Now there is some utility functions as well, right? So I'm gonna write those things. I'll say hash, and I say 3 minus type utility functions, right? And functions, and I just simply convert that into markdown, right? Execute this, and you can see it over here. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to just show you how we are going to use some methods which are brilliant in Python and how do they work. So I'm going to say x is equals to 2.0, right? X is equals to 2.0, right? And I will say I want to check if the variable is a float value, right? This is what I wanted to check, right? So how do I do this, right? I can simply say type of x is a float, right? I'm asking this, and if you notice here, right, this is very much like an English language, right? Type of x is a float, right? I mean, if you ask this question, and Python will be able to give you the answer for the same, right? So while explaining, I just by mistake written down a over here, but type of x is a float, it will come back and it says true, right? Now can I check this once again? I'll say is type of x is integer, and it will come back as false, right? There is another method called is instance method, right? So it's called is I'll just write it in a small is instance method. And what is this is instance method? Is instance method is also able to give you similar kind of stuff, right? So I'll just simply say is instance, and if you do shift tab over here, it will show you return whether an object is an instance of a class or a subclass thereof. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up this is instance over here, right? And I'm going to say is instance of x, is it float, right? And execute this, and it will come back and says true, right? You can try out for different other methods also, but it will work like that, right? Now very important and very, very useful method which I wanted to discuss over here is do we know what is the typecasting, like how do we do typecasting of the data? For example, I can simply say here, I'll just write it over here, right, so that you can remember what am I talking about. I'm going to say 5 minus sorry, my bad, it's supposed to be 5 minus, sorry, this is 4th, my bad, 4th minus, and I can say typecasting of the data. Okay, execute this, and you can see here typecasting of the data, and we can say x is equals to, suppose I have some number like 2.877, right? And I say what is x, right? It will come back and says 2.877. I know what kind of data it is, right? And if I show you, if I'll say print x and also print type of x, right? So type is the command which will tell me what kind of variable I have. So you can see here it says 2.877 is the value, and the class is float over here, right? So this is This is how my data is being defined, or Python is learning this data, right? What I Python learned this data, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to convert this value into integer value, right? And this is pretty easy. So I can say converting the float value to the integer value, okay? And I say x is equals to integer of x, right? And I say, could you please print, I'll run the same command, right? I'll say x and also print the type of x. And if I just do this, it will show me that it's an integer value, right? You can see integer value is being printed, right? So earlier it was float value, x value was float. Now I have typecasted it and converted that into integer. The very important thing over here, people, right, which you need to remember, that did you notice that 2.877 did not convert into 3, right? Why it did not convert into 3? Because Python, when it converts that value into integer, it simply strip off the values after decimal. So this decimal and 2877, like 877 will be removed, and then you will left with only 2 values, right? So this is what the typecasting of the data will work, right? This is how it works. Now let's talk about the next thing which I wanted to talk about over here is like dealing with string values, right? How do we deal with string values? So I'll just write over here just as a notes, dealing why am I doing this? Always dealing with strings value, okay, right? And what am I going to do? I'm going to convert that into a heading, right, so that you can remember it. And I'm going to write some notes over here, right, so that you can remember, right? I'll just simply say notes. What is a string value, right? How do we deal with the string values, right? So I'm going to write it over here. Notes is, first of all, string value values are the variable types that is used or you can say used for storing the text messages or text data, right? Text messages, right? I'll just simply say like this, right? I mean, if I wanted to store anything like text, I have to do this, right, over here. Alright people, so the fifth point which we are discussing over here is that how to deal with the string values, and what we have discussed is that string values are the variable types, right? Just avoid my typos here. Variable types that is used for storing the text values, right? What is this text value I'm talking about, right? I can just remove this and convert that into a markdown so that it will be acted as a notes for me, right? Execute this and you can see that it is acting as a note over here. I can just add a value over here as well, so I can say notes, right? And this will be used as a notes value, right, to use. So whenever you deal with string values, you will realize that what is this string value I'm talking about. So that the next thing which we wanted to discuss is that how it can deal with string values. For example, I wanted to say,
Sudhanshu, you're on mute.
all right, is it audible now? Sorry, my bad. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, you audible, but what you said.
Okay, so I'm just repeating that for you, right? So what am I saying is that that the fifth point which we are talking about is dealing with string values, okay? And in dealing with this string value, I've just kept it as a notes over here, right? So that you can, whenever you recall all your commands, you will be able to realize that what the string values is all about, right? So let's see what this string values work, and I've kept it as a notes here, so just to recall the things, and I'll tell you what does it mean. So what is this notes I'm talking about? What is this string value I'm talking about? For example, if I have a variable name, suppose I'm saying data, right, some name, right, data underscore where is equals to, I can say I am Sudhanshu Saxena, right? If I just simply say I'm Sudhanshu Saxena, right, and I execute this and I say what is this data underscore where I'm talking about, it will say I am Sudhanshu Saxena. So now notice in Python, right? In Python, I'll just write it over here as a notes. In Python, the single quotes, right, like this, and double quotes are same, right? Which means like this, right? Something like this. Double quotes are same, right? So if you think that um, uh, that why I have given this double quotes over here, and it is showing me the option in single quotes, why they are coming like this, in it's same, right? So basically Python gives you ease of programming, right? So you don't need to worry about a lot many things, right? Suppose if I just even pick up this data and hit a tab over here, right, and execute this, it will, Python will not give you an error, right? It's still the data underscore variable will be equal to the same. I'm Sudhanshu Saxena, right? There shouldn't be any problem like indentation error or something of that sort. Now what am I going to do, people, over here is that I'm going to pick up this this variable name. Suppose I'm just picking up one name over here. I will call this as some s value. I'll say s is equals to, and I'll pick up hello underscore, or I just simply say space hello and world, right? Now I'll show you basically what does it mean to have this value. I'll just correct some of the things. World, right? Hello world. Execute this, and there are, how many spaces are there? 1, 2. So I'll just keep 1, right? So this is hello world. Now why I'm giving you this value is there is a very, very important logic which is coming up, right? And what this logic is, suppose I'll say what is the type of s you have picked up, it will come back and say string value. So str stands for string, right? So what you have picked up over here is string value, right? Now what am I going to do? I'm going to say s, and if you remember in the beginning, right, when I was talking about, I have given you the the option where it says s dot. I was getting an error when I picked up dot. Now the reason why it is giving you an error, because the moment I say dot over here, it will open up some commands for me, right? What are those commands? So if I just say dot over here and hit tab, it will open up all these values for me. So it says whether you want to capitalize something, you wanted to do case, fold, count, encode, and end with, and these are all options which will work only for string value. Understand this will only work for string value, right? I will show you that in a minute. Right now, suppose I have given x value over here, look at this, right? Or suppose I have picked up some x value like this. I'm saying x value is equals to like this, right? I'm going to say simply, right, simply saying x is equals to 2.0. Now if I say what is the type of x over here, it will come back and it says float. Now if I say x dot, look at this, the option which I'm getting are different, completely different. Why these options are different? Because it's a floating value, completely floating value, right? It's a different option altogether. I'm just hitting tab after dot and it will pick up a different value, right? And I say s dot, and I can say convert that into conjugate or convert that into integer ratio, basically depending upon what kind of data you have. Suppose if I'll say z is equals to some number, right, some number, and there is no floating value, right, and I'll say show me what is the type of z, it will come back and says integer. If I say z dot and hit tab, it will give me a different option altogether. These are not the same option which you are getting in floating value, right? So it identifies, right, it identifies what kind of data you have, and based on that data only, it will show you the relevant option. So right now, what is my value? S, right? If I say S over here, S dot, it will show me a different options altogether, right? Now here, what am I going to do? I'm going to say, it's like type of S I have already shown you, right? I'm going to simply say, show me the len. Now len stands for, suppose I'm writing len over here, do shift tab over here, and it says return the number of items in a container. Now what is this container thing I'm talking about? Container means that there is a value which can hold multiple things, right? So here when I say in a word or in a container, right, in a container, so this len, why it is showing me the length, right, when I say length of s, right, it will show me the how many elements I have. So 5 words for hello, 5 words for world, and there is this space which is also being counted over here. Okay, this is the space which is also being counted, right? So if I say suppose name is equals to Sudhanshu Saxena, right? This is my name, and I just wanted to pick up the quotes over here, right? Quotes over here, and I say what is the type of name. It will come back and say it's a string value, and I say could you please tell me the length of the name. It will come back and say 16 elements are there, right? So 9 elements are here, right, and 6 elements are here, and 1 space, right, which makes it 16, right? So basically you have got all these values. Now here if I say, suppose if I just pick up the indexing of the data, right, I'll show you what does this indexing mean, right? Suppose I'm saying that there is right, so we use, for example, for indexing of the data, we use square brackets. Okay, so if I say pick up name and show me the 0th element, right, over here, so it will come back and says, now this is something which you need to remember, people, right? In Python, indexing starts from 0. Okay, in Python indexing starts from 0, so you always remember the first element will be the 0th element, right, and will come back as s over here. If I say show me the name, show me the name over here, and show me the 5th element of it, execute this, and you will see n over here. So n is the 5th element of the data, which is actually the 6th element when you count it from 1 2 3, right? So you can see that this option will like work over here, right? Now what are the other things? If I want, can I pick up the elements which are from right, say suppose element, we can giving the range as well. So we'll say what do I give as a range? So I'll say pick up from 0th to 9th element of it, and it will come back and say Sudhanshu. I can also say pick up the name starting from say 10th, or I'll pick up say 10th to say 16th. It will come back and say Saxena over here. I can pick up name, right, and I can say give me the elements from 5th to 9th. It will come back and says NSHU, right, whatever the name, right, or I'll just pick up it from 4th. It will say Anshu over here, right? So you can see over here that it is going to give you all the elements of it, right? Now first time when you do the tab thing, right, suppose I'm just doing len over here and I hit tab over here, tab will only work if you have dot symbol, right? Otherwise it will not work. Tab will not work if you do not have tab symbol. So tab is being used to complete, so I'll just write the notes over here, right? The tab command works for dot symbol, right, and autocomplete, right? Similarly, right, shift plus tab works to see the options, right? Similarly, these are the short codes, right? Similarly, control plus enter works for execute the current cell only. Okay, now similarly you will see shift plus tab, right? I'll just simply say shift plus enter, right? Shift plus enter works for current cell and select the next one, right? Will you be able to recall this, all of these things, right? These are the some options which you can remember, right, all the time. So these are some notes sort of thing, right? It will just work for you, right? So all right. So now what we have seen is indexing. Now indexing also works in a reverse order, right? For example, I can say what is my name over here? Name is Sudhanshu Saxena, right? If I pick up the name over here, right, name over here, and start giving indexing from negative, right? For example, in negative indexing means that it will start counting from here itself. So this is minus 16 people. This is minus 16. A is minus 16. I will be starting from minus 16 to say pick up element till 9th, and it will give me the output here, right? Look at this, right? Starting from the minus 16 to 9, right? Which means minus 16 is which element? This is minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. If I say show me from minus 1 to 9, look at this. I got this value. Minus 1 to, give me minus 1 to 4, right? Okay, one second. I'll show you minus 1 to minus 1 to all, right? It will give me A over here. This is the last element which we have got, right? Similarly, I can say pick up name starting from minus 1 from all the way to minus 5, right? It will just should calculate minus 1 to minus 5. It should pick up like this, minus 5 to minus 1, right? It will show me, look at this value, right? So you got, so minus 5 is which one? Minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, right? It picks up this value and it will go all the way up to minus 1 value, right? So it selects range is always less than the value, right? Which means if you select 1 or else select from 0 to 9, it will go right from 0 to 9 minus 1, right? It will select that one. It will show you this option, right? So this is something which you need to remember, right? Always remember that it will select less than one thing. I'll show you an example of it, right? For example, what is my name over here? My bad, people, sorry. So what is my name over here? So if you count this, right, 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, look at this, right? When I say 0 to 8, when I say name, right, and I pick up 0 to 8, right, it will always calculate 8 minus 1. Execute this and you get Sudhanshu over here, right? Look at this once again. 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. I have selected till 8, 0 to 8, and it is giving me the range 0, like 8 minus 1. It is going till SH. It is not going to pick up U over here. However, if I give name 0 to 9, which means there are 10 elements, my name has got 9 elements, right? It will give me Sudhanshu as a value, right? So I hope all these logics are clear, basically, right? What am I trying to say, right? We can also use reverse counting, right? This is called reverse counting of this, right? So you just simply say reverse counting over here, right? Reverse counting. Okay. All right. So now you've understood, right, how it is dealing with it. Let's pick up some more examples in string, right? So this is going to be 5.a. This is going to be 5.a section where we will learn to manipulate the string value. Okay, strings, basically strings value, right? How do you do that? So let me just make this as heading. So how do I do that? I can simply say, suppose this is my name, right? I'll say full name, right? Full name is equals to, right? And I say name, and since it's a string value, Python knows that all the options for string value will work. So I'll say dot over here and I say tab, right? And it says what you want to do, right? You want to do something formatting, or you want to do some numeric value, or replacing, or converting that into upper, and these are several options. Now my suggestion to you is, do not try to remember. I'm just making the things easy for you. Just do not try to remember the things, because there are so many options which you will get. It is very difficult to remember all of these things. However, right, you can understand that if you have something in your mind, that can be done in Python, right? If you have something in your mind, that can be done in Python for sure. So suppose I'm going to say I wanted to replace some value, right? Now I'll do shift tab over here to see what does it mean, right? Look at this. It says return a copy with all the occurrences of substring old replaced by new. And how do you write the command? Name dot replace, pick up the old value, define the new value, and it will replace the value for you, right? So what I want to do is I wanted to remove this Saxena value over here, right? And I wanted to say that this is my old value, right? And I want to replace it with Indian, okay? Indian over here. And I say, show me what is full name after this. Execute this and you say, it says Sudhanshu Indian, right? So I have done what? I have stored this, after replacing this, I've stored that variable into a variable name called full name, right? This is how it works. You can apply anything. Now, if I just pick up full name, and then because full name is a string value, I'll say dot over here and I hit tab. It will just give you several options. For example, suppose you wanted to pick up is upper command. So you can just see over here, it says return true if the string is an uppercase string, false otherwise, right? So if I'll say, is it upper, right? Execute this and it will come back and says false, right? Let me just give you one more example. Suppose I say the country is equals to India, right? Execute this and I say is country dot is upper, right? Come back and it will come back and it says this is true, right? All the values are true. So no matter how much bigger your string is, you can actually manage that up easily, right? I hope this is making sense to everyone. Please confirm if we are good till here, people. Yes.
Sudhanshu, for me, tab and shift tab is not working.
Shift tab is not working.
And even tab is not working. When I'm pressing, I created a variable and I press dot and then I press tab. Nothing intelligence is coming.
Right.
Is this something related to browser type? I'm using Edge.
That is something which I cannot confirm if this is the case, because let me just show you this, right? If you say full name, right? Now see, when I say FUL, right, and I hit tab over here, Python will understand that you are trying to auto complete the things. So if I do this, it will automatically give me the idea. Now suppose if I have only one letter, right, and I hit tab, it will give me options. What you want to do? You wanted to pick up Sudhanshu Saxena as a data scientist. You wanted to pick up super save. It will give you all plethora of options which are possibly you want to use, right? If I say simply, suppose F and do tab, it will say you want to filter out float, format, and full name. Look at this, right? Full name is also there, right? Full name is something which I have defined over here, right? So it will give me this option. This is how tab works, right? Second thing is that if you are working on a module, right? Suppose you are working on a command. Suppose I'm saying this is a print command, okay? Right? Print command says, right? When I say print command and I say shift tab over here, you can see that it is giving you help. Shift tab is giving you help. I have mentioned it over here. Shift tab is work to see the options, or basically it is a help command, right? So this is how it works. So I'll just say shift tab over here, and you can see the doc string, right? What does print command do, right? What it is going to print out and all those kind of stuff. For how many people shift tab and tab both are working? Just try this once. Try this once and let me know. Kaushik, where exactly we are facing the problem? Okay, people who are not able to get this thing done, are they using Edge? People who are not able to get this thing done, are they using Edge? Right. For Edge, for Yama, Edge is working. For other people, how many people are able to get this thing done that Edge is working? Okay. People, one more thing. Right, you can also check, see if you are not restarting your computer, right? Sometimes so what happens is kernel become dead after a while. So suppose your kernel is dead now and you've not done this. In that case, I want you to log out from all these videos, like just click on file and close and halt and everything, and restart your make sure that any other place the window is not open. Because if your kernel is also dead, in that case also you don't get the output. So for edges is working. Gaurav, is it the case that you might have started it 3-4 days back and that's why it is not picking up?
Yes, Sudhanshu, I haven't restarted since Friday.
Right. Just try this once. Just try restarting your kernel and see if it gives you the output. So this is how it works. Do you want to restart the current kernel? All variable will be lost, which means that Python will lose out all the memory. And if you do restart, it will say restarting kernel and it says connected after this. Does it work like that?
Sudhanshu, can you just show the steps one more time?
Sure. Go to this kernel. Restart the kernel.
Okay.
Right? Restart the kernel.
Okay.
Restart the kernel and it will give you, which means that Python will lose out all the memory. So for example, I have defined full name over here. Python will lose out this memory. However, output will be written over here, but Python will not be able to remember what was full name, right? If I say restart over here, it will just restart the kernel and show you the output. And just just try running the commands again and see if it is working for you. I am looking answers from people for whom it was not working.
Gaurav here, Sudhanshu. I did that restart kernel, but still I use the tab and it's just moving as a tab normal as a space.
Yeah, so your kernel is dead. Please close all the windows for this this system, for this Anaconda. Restart it and it will start working. Okay. All right. And I'll give you some chance to work on it, right? I'll give you 15 minutes so that you can execute these commands. Okay. All right. So people, right, what we have understood so far is that that we are able to see this Python can deal with string values as well, right? What am I going to do is I'm going to simply say something like this: simple underscore string 1 is equals to, right, n example, okay, and I will pick up simple string 2 is equals to, my bad, simple string 2 is equals to, right, I will just simply say oranges, right? Now execute this and my Python is able to understand all of these things. I can simply say simple string 1 plus simple string 2, right? What is the output? It will say an example of oranges. Look at this example. I can say off over here, right? and you can say example of oranges. Now you can see that there is a like zero gap between this, right, two things. So what you can do is I can say simple string 1 plus, I can say use space there, and I can say plus simple string 2, and you can see an example of oranges. Getting my point? So you can basically, right, for you can see that you can manipulate the string values as well. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to show you one amazing thing, right? Suppose I'm saying simple string 1 multiplied by 10, right? It will work like this. Look at this. This is all working, right? I mean, there's no other language which can give you this much of flexibility, right? I can also use, right, simple string 1, right, plus I'll say is a, right, and I say plus a, right, I can say a, right, and I can say plus fraud, right? I'm just taking a funny thing over here, fraud, and I can say plus simple string 2, right? It will create a complete example for me. Look at this, right? So you can see here that I'm getting some values over here, right, which says this is a fraud. I mean, if these values are changing now, instead of this, right, look at this, right, I'm just changing a bit, just changing this a bit, and here I'm adding 2 lines over here. I'm saying number equal to some values over here. Execute this, and I say this, instead of this I can say a number here, right? Execute this, and you can see, okay, I will not be able to add in this term. I will be able to quote this. I have to use multiplication or something to add some number here. This will not be, I'll say print. If I want to print number over here, I execute this. Is it not letting me print? Okay, I'll save.
Sudhanshu, can you typecast the number and then you can add?
Yeah, I'm
string or something.
Typecasting the number.
Yes.
You mean to say like this?
That is like a string.
Yeah,
right?
it is a string.
Like
yeah.
So you write a string and then number.
No, it's not letting me add that thing, but there is so I'm telling you a problem, right? And I'm going to tell you how to solve it. Alright, so I'm going to solve this problem for you, right? So how do you do that? Basically, see, when I'm asking it to give you a number, right, it is not letting me. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to pick up this value and I'm going to say comma here, right? And so let me just quickly show you, right, there is an error, right? So here we are supposed to get an error, right? And how do we solve this problem? We can just pick this value. Sorry, my bad. It is not letting you concatenate this number. Strange. Look at this, right? So here we can also print the number as well, right? This is what we can try, right? You can say the example of is a fraud, and then you got a number here. Basically, I have to separate between the elements, these elements, and I have to separate the integer values over here, right? This is how it works, right? So you can see that Python is very flexible in giving you this option, right? How can we assign some variables? Let me just quickly show you some options over here, right? Let's say, so we understand over here in the 6 point, this is going to be 6 point, right? 6 minus string points, it will be, right, how to string formatting examples. Okay, string formatting examples. So how do we understand this string formatting examples? So for example, I have this print command where I'm saying pick up str1, right, as a comma str2. These are some names, right? Basically you can just consider them as names, comma str3. They don't mean anything, it's just there is no value stored in this. It can print this value as well, right? So print command concatenates. Okay, execute this and you can see print concatenated each other, right? Also we can use print command and I can say str1 comma 1.0, right, and I say false, right. This is going to be capital F because it's a Python reserved keyword. I have to make sure that it is as it is, and I can pick up some number here, right, and I can say now when I print everything, so print command converts everything in the string format. How do I know that it is converting that into string format? When you execute this, specifically when there is a string output, you will see that there will be a quotes around it. Execute this and you can see that all values are converting into this value, right? So it will show you all the values, but they are now in string format, right? If I just pick up the values of it, it will convert it into string values. Now I wanted to we can do C style formatting as well, right? So let me just quickly show you, right? Okay, one more thing. I'll just print this, right, and I'll say print with plus concatenates without spaces. Okay, so there's going to be no space between the values, right? They're going to be just printed without spaces. Why did they change something in Python? I think they've changed something in Python, but it actually does without spaces. One second.
Sudhanshu, I think there's a space after the comma, that's why it is taking those spaces.
No, I have not used this plus symbol, sorry. So I'll just use plus symbols. So I mean the space doesn't matter here. Space. So I have to use plus symbol, no, to show you that I'm showing you a different option and I'm typing a different code. So you can see that str1, str2 and str3, they are picked up as a without space thing, right? Getting my point, everyone? So plus symbols concatenate without spaces. However, if you just pick up the comma, it will just concatenate the value with spaces, right? I'll simply say with spaces here, right? So that you can remember. All right. So now you've understood, right? What kind of string formatting we can do, right? I'll show you one more thing, which is called as C style formatting. What is this C style formatting? I'll tell you, right? So I'll say 6.1. It's called C style formatting. Now why I want you to remember this? It's called C style formatting minus, okay? What is the C style formatting I'm talking about? So I'm saying print, right? If I ask it to print, right? Simple, just look at this. If I ask it to print 1, 2, 3, right? It will just print that value for me, right? Without any problem, right? If I ask it to print value is equals to 1, 2, 3, it will give me an error, right? I say I don't know what you're talking about. Now here what I can do is, so you'll get an error over here, right? However, what I'm saying is print this value has to be in quotes and then print this value. I can just give even if I execute this, probably it will get an error. It says invalid syntax, but if I just add comma over here, it will print that value for me, right? You getting my point? I'm able to print it with comma because it's a character value and it's a numerical value. Both cannot be printed without comma values, right? It is a container which wants to keep it separately, two things separately. Gaurav, I will look into your screen. Let me complete this exercise and I'll look into your screen. Okay, we'll see that where exactly the problem is, isn't it? Okay, all right. So now this is one thing, right, which we have got. Now here the second thing is that if I can say, look at this, this is what C style formatting is, right? This is what exactly C style formatting I'm talking about. Okay, so I can say print quotes value is equals to, right, and here I'm gonna say 1 2 3, right, but I want to say that please pick up the values, right, from like after comma, and keep it up to 3 point of floating values, right? Print this value for me, right? Look at this, what you got. Sorry, so here instead of comma I'll use this value, right? Look at this, 123.000, right? Look at this. So this is called C style formatting, people. My bad. This is called C style formatting. Okay, I'm going to show you one more time with some other number. I'll say just pick up to 2 point of floating values. Look at this. Okay, getting my point? What am I doing basically? Now another example. Another example is that I'm picking up some variable name. I'll say suppose S2 is equals to, right, I can say value 1, right, value underscore 1 is equals to percentage up to 4 point of floating value, and what value I wanted to pass in there, it should be after this. What value I wanted to pass in there? Some number dot some number over here, right? Execute this. Sorry, my bad. I can use print command there. Print. Execute this and you can see that up to 4 point of decimal value has been picked up, right? Another example, right, which is gonna make you you become fan of Python, right? You'll see S2 is equals to, I'll say value 1, right? I wanted to print this value, right? I wanted to print this value, or I can say just value 1 print. I'll say print value 1 is equals to up to 0.2 point of floating values, up to 3 point of floating values, and value 2, what am I doing? Value 2 is equals to up to 2 points of floating value, right? 2 point of floating value, and quotes over pass on, right, some number with some decimal point, comma some number with some decimal point, right? And I'll say print S2. What happened? Okay. Not enough arguments for. Okay, sorry, my bad. So why this error I'm getting? Because it is saying that I have only one value, but you asked me to format 2, right? Why don't you pass 2 values? And I say, very well, I will be passing on 2 values over here, right? So you'll get an error like this, right? So you can see the value 1 is this, right, and value 2 is this, right, and this is where you get the output, right? So you can see if you print S2 values, it will just print out that value for you, right? Similarly, We'll pick up another example over here. What is this another example I'm talking about? This value, I'm not putting that into floating. I'm converting them into, sorry. Right, so here what we want to do is we wanted to pick up this up to two digit up to, I wanted to pick up only the digits of the second value, right? Look at this, I'm saying percentage d only, right? So here both the values are in numerical, right? If I just wanted to execute this, you will get 243.524 up to 3 point of floating value, and this value to become only this value, right? And then when we are actually picking up the data, most of the time this is the thing which we actually wonder that whether we can do this or not. Now I'll give you another example for this, right? Let's say I am just going to pick up another example. This is what Python can do easily, right? Suppose I'm saying some variable, I'll say is equals to pick up value 1. So I'll just start from here. I'll say value. Why I'm getting none over here, people? Because I wanted to print this value, right? Only this, right? So I'm saying value 1 is equals to whatever is there on zeroth, on the first value, and I'll say value 2 is equals to whatever is there on the first place, right? And I will say dot format, right? Pass on some value, some number dot some number, comma some number dot some number, right? And I say, could you please print the value of where for me? Execute this, and you can see that the first value has been assigned over here and the second value has been assigned over here. Now this is the same methodology which has been used, right? Wherein you have some account number, and in account number what happens is that in account number what you do is your account number is having some values, and you'll say your account balance is, and then it is passing on a variable. Your remaining balance is, and it is passing on some variable, and it is printing out this value, the account balance. So I can just write it over here, something like this: account underscore balance, right? And your previous underscore balance, and you can see that it works like this, right? Account balance is this and the previous balance was this, right? Something of this sort, right? So you can see that most of the time you get this option. Now suppose sometimes, right, some of you are facing the difficulty, right? You're not able to get the options. You can just simply do, right? This is the last topic before I give you this sheet, right? How to get help, right? Help from Jupyter, right? How do you get help from Jupyter? And I'm going to show you, right? Option number one, guys, please be on mute. Option number 1, suppose you do print and just type in shift plus tab. Okay, this is one of the option, right? So if I just do shift tab over here, it will give me the option over here, right? This is one thing, right? Second option is, right, option number 2 is you can just simply say question mark and type in print, right? It will give you a help over here like this, the same help which you got over here. You will get to see something like this, right? The third option is you can type in help and type in print there, right? Print there, it will give you the help like this, right? This is option number 3. So any of these things will give you similar kind of help. It's just that how do you want to take it, right? So I have given you all the options. We have got many codes over here. I want you to execute these codes.